Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we look at the desperate need for a designated travellers site after one illegal stay cost the landowner £10,000 to clear. We have another canine looking for a home in Dog of the Week. And my guests tonight are Superintendent Ed Cook from Humberside Police and Councillor Steve Bezant, here to talk about Operation Impact, which has been taking place on Grimsby's East Marsh.
The East Marsh area of Grimsby has been rated as the worst area for crime, according to new statistics released today. The figures compile all the crimes committed in a certain region. In the East Marsh area of North East Lincolnshire, 339 crimes were committed. Over 80 of those were violence and sexual assaults. The figures come just days after Operation Impact launched across the Humberside Police region, with the promise of tackling drug crime, antisocial behaviour and disorder. Navigo in Grimsby have held their annual general meeting. The idea of the event was to dispel further stigma surrounding mental health diagnoses and issues. Mark Woods, Paralympic swimmer, and Johnny Benjamin, whose life was saved due to a stranger on the bridge, as featured on Channel 4 earlier in the year, were both guest speakers at the event. They praised the provider's work.
Well, it's fantastic to come back to my hometown and support an event like this when you see the services that they offer. You can really appreciate how lucky the people of the area are to have Navigo do what they do, because it's certainly not the same around the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in a psychiatric unit a few times, different psychiatric units, and I've toured around mental health trusts, and I've never seen anything like Navigo. Really inspiring. It's really therapeutic environments where the patient comes first. I've never seen that before. They really put patient at the heart of everything they do, and it's fantastic, and it creates results. And it's so lovely to see. They're so proud, and so they should be of their services. And I think every other mental health trust in the country should know about what Navigo are doing and try and follow.
We've got some dates for the Hull Fete 2015. 400,000 people are expected to attend the 737th year of the Hull Fair. It will officially open at 5 p.m. on Friday the 9th of October and will run until 11 p.m. on Saturday the 17th. Terry Garati, who's in charge of leisure and culture at Hull City Council, said that the event attracts thousands of people from right across the country and further afield. He added that it's one of the attractions that define this great city as ours. That's all from me for now, and I'll be back with more news soon. If you've got a news story for us, then email us on news@estuary.tv. Find us on Grimsby 01472 31553 or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Bye for now.
A local farmer has praised his area's community spirit after friends and neighbours rallied round to help him rid his field of waste dumped by members of the travelling community. Brian Holden was shocked to find a number of caravans parked in one of his fields near the North East Lincolnshire village of Tetney, but had hoped they'd be moved on by the police 48 hours later. After 3.5 weeks, a group of up to 40 travellers finally moved on after Brian received a court order. Dan Kemp has been along to survey the damage.
A scene of devastation. The field between Humberston and Tetney was once used for making and storing hay, but now it's going to take considerable time and money to put it right.
Brick rubble, paving slabs, pallets, even gas bottles. Then there's all the household rubbish as well. It's just a disgrace. It's very distressing. It's put both me and the wife under a lot of stress, and pleased at last they've gone.
This incident has brought the wider issue of designated traveller stopping sites back into the public eye. At present, North East Lincolnshire Council have no official plots for them to stay when in the area. In a statement, North East Lincolnshire Council say the council works closely with partners to establish the most effective course of action available, and we follow this process whenever there is an unauthorised encampment on public land. The provision of a designated stopover site is being looked at as part of the development of the local plan. Shay Clipson is a Romany gypsy and traveller consultant in the area.
Gypsies and travellers are following a traditional way of life, not a lifestyle. So where there really is a need for more site provision, particularly temporary negotiated stopping places, so that families can stop over without all the friction that goes with unauthorised encampments, and obviously if there is a negotiated stopping place available, then there is no excuse for them to be on private land. So it's a win-win for everybody, plus they pay rent when they're at the negotiated stopping place.
Well, definitely something's got to be done, because this isn't the first farmers' field they've been on round here, but for some reason this seems to be the biggest mess they've left. But if East Lindsey could provide a site, well, it would help. But it needs one in the Grimsby area as well, because that's where they do a lot of the work.
And Shay Clipson wants to make it clear that the actions of the travellers on Brian's Field do not represent the majority.
It's this sort of behaviour that impacts on other gypsy and traveller families who are perfectly law-abiding, go about their business and don't try and upset anybody else. So it's a terrible situation for the farmer whose field it was, and it's a very sad day for gypsies and travellers if they are part of our community.
And just like to say, Tetney is actually in Lincolnshire, not North East. If you've a news story you'd like the team to cover, then contact us via our social media pages or call 01472 315 553, or alternatively send an email to news@estuary.tv. Well, still to come. There's another adorable dog that needs a new home in our feature Dog of the Week. And we'll have all the latest local sports news. For the last week on Grimsby's East Marsh, a multi-agency initiative between the police, fire service and council has been running. Operation Impact has been tackling crime, disorder and antisocial activity, but has it been working? Joining me are Superintendent Ed Cook from Humberside Police and Councillor Steve Besant, whose area is in the East Marsh. Welcome both to the studio. If I can start with the police first of all, just tell me, why was Operation Impact launched?
Okay, well, we've known for a while that the East Marsh has its challenges. It has, compared to the rest of the area of North East Lincolnshire, some high levels of deprivation and some high crime levels. More importantly, the residents have been telling us that recently things have been a problem in that area: antisocial behaviour, drugs, burglary. So Operation Impact's very much about getting back on the front foot and giving that community the reassurance that we're here, we're policing, and we're working with some of our partner agencies to try and improve the area, not just for now in a week of action, but in the long term.
And so far, I mean, we've been featuring little bits on the bulletins throughout the week. So far, has it been successful?
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of work that's gone on has been huge. Give you some examples. We've made now well over 24 arrests for offences such as house burglary, for supply of drugs, for disorder type offences, and these are all crimes in the East Marsh involving victims in the area. More than that, we've done a huge consultation with the community. We've been knocking on hundreds of doors. We have over 400 feedback surveys from members of the public taken face to face at the doorstep, and they're telling us, A, that they're seeing us, and B, they're telling us what they need for the long-term improvement in the area. So yeah.
Councillor Besant, you obviously represent the people on the East Marsh, and you know, obviously you'll be well aware of issues down there. What's the feedback you're getting from residents?
Well, I was knocking on doors much earlier, and I was getting similar feedback to what Ed's just said. People was telling me that antisocial behaviour was the number one issue. Last year it was dogfouling and environmental issues, strangely enough, but obviously crime has come to the forefront now. And to be honest, I was jumping up and down with council officers and police officers wanting something done. So to be honest, I welcome the week of action. Absolutely fantastic to me. Residents now are really over the moon as such, because any criminal off the streets is a bit of peace for somebody who's living next door to them. One less victim there will be of crime tonight or whatever. So it's really, really good news. It will have an impact. They won't go away, they won't. There'll still be police officers on the street after this week, they will know. There'll be less of them, there will though, but we've got to work smarter. We all know this, we do, in really tight resources as such. So but it's still great news.
Okay, because not long ago you did have a high-profile operation down Freeman Street, didn't you? Which people complained about. That we see you down there, you disappear, and everything goes back to how it was.
I mean, I want first thing to point out is that we have policing 365 days a year. 24/7, so there is always a police presence in the area, but I understand people don't always see us, there aren't as many as perhaps there used to be. So what these operations allow us to do is to bring in extra staff, sometimes from elsewhere in the force. There's a common myth in Grimsby that sometimes Hull and the areas north of the river take more resources. Well, this is about bringing some of those back. So you make an impact in that week. But the really important part of the operation is it has the future in mind. So we will come back for a number of days within the next month or 2 months to reinforce what we've done. And critically, we're going to listen to what the public have said, what those surveys say. What do they actually want in the long term? Because some of it is really quite achievable stuff. It could be something as simple as we need something for the kids on an evening on 1 or 2 streets. And we'll work together with the council to try and get ahead of the game and to stop some of this antisocial behaviour.
Okay, right. Well, I'm going to stop you there, but when we come back after this break, we'll pose some more questions to you on that. So join me after the break. As still to come, we'll continue to talk about Operation Impact. We find another dog a home, and we'll have all the latest local sports news. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come, we hope to find another lovable dog a home in Dog of the Week, and we'll have all the latest local sports news and results. Well, still with me in the studio are Superintendent Ed Cook and Councillor Steve Bazant discussing Operation Impact, which is currently running on the East Marsh. Now, before the break there, Ed, if I can come back to you, we were talking about that. You know, you do these operations, the media know you're coming, everybody knows you're coming, the criminals probably run off and go on holiday and it all goes quiet. Has that been the case, or have you had success rates this week?
As I say, 20 arrested, so they didn't go on holiday. What we're finding is that the majority of people that were going out to arrest, we are getting and we are bringing them in. So part of the impact is the publicity. Because if you think about reassurance, it's people need to know we're there. And one of the things about being a police officer in a yellow jacket is unless people actually see you, and the chances are they may not, part of the impact is for them to feel that you are around. So we've been really heavily patrolling, particularly on an evening and into a night. Some of the areas residents have been telling us are particular issues. We have been seen because the people have been telling us that we've been seen. But the long-term bit, this isn't just about the police, this is about fire service, sexual health outreach, drug and alcohol workers, environmental health. So we've been briefing together and working together because these problems are not just about crime. Crime's often the symptom. It's more about the environment and the society that we live in. Really.
I was going to say that I mean, looking at the statistics there, you know, one of these crime stats that have come out is that obviously it was violence and sexual offences that were the largest you were dealing with in the East Marsh. But as everybody knows, alcohol and drugs probably play a huge part, but it's about education as well, isn't it, and tackling those symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, crime is right at the end of a spectrum, and you're absolutely right, it's about engagement with young people early on, to encourage positive behaviours, give diversion and things for the youngsters to do. It's about people with substance misuse issues being treated as vulnerable people. You know, they've got an addiction, they've got a need, and we need to put resources into it. Else all that happens is we end up having to police the consequences. So that's why this is about the police and other people too. And you get a long-term result from tackling those issues, not from just doing weeks of action. So that's part of this plan. When we sit down at the end of this week and we've got all the information about what the area is facing and what the people are telling us, then we can come up with a plan that's sustainable. That's what this is about as much as anything.
Exactly. Councillor Bazant, I mean, these figures obviously show the East Marsh is a troubled area with 339 offences reported. You're not proud of that. Why do you think that is? Why is the East Marsh having this high ratio of crime?
in the council since 2003. We've had similar figures, ups and downs, for many years. Long before I was the councillor as such, and we've had these similar peaks and troughs. The problem is, over the more recent years, the cheap supply of alcohol, and that is a big problem. Yeah. We've got more off licences in East Marsh than perhaps any other ward. And the problem is, government has got to tackle it. They've got to have the guts to tackle it, to get rid of this cheap supply of alcohol. You walk down Wellington Street, you see 2 or 3 off licences as such in the spate of 100 yards. That's no good to bring young people up. They're going Grantford Park at night time as such, drinking on park benches as such. So to be honest, we've now got to get to grips with it as a society. The police can't resolve it, the health workers can't resolve it, and the fire service can't resolve it, or the local council. It's got to be government who resolve this problem.
Exactly. Well, you've hit the nail on the head. That's quite true, isn't it? Yeah. That this is like a can of worms that you start, but sometimes your hands are bound because it does come down to government and legislation, doesn't it?
Somebody's got to have the guts to say alcohol from a supermarket is too cheap. And that's what's killing the pub trade as well. People used to go to pubs, but they don't now.
Well, one thing I would just want to comment on about some of the crime figures. You mentioned sexual offences, and a lot of forces, in fact almost all forces nationally, have seen an increase this year. Right. Just to reassure people out there, this isn't an increase in what you might traditionally view as people out there committing sexual crimes. This is actually to do with the media publicity that surrounded cases like Jimmy Savile, and the fact that there are a lot of these crimes are coming and being reported to us from the 70s, the 80s and the 90s. People having the confidence to step forward. Now on the crime figures, and we can talk about them at length, whether we trust them or whether we don't, but a lot of the crimes we record today are actually reports from some time ago, and that we see that as a positive. That's victims having the confidence to come forward and to say, look, this I wouldn't have reported at the time, but I would now. And if I told you at times up to 2/3 of our sexual offences crimes of that kind of offence, it can just reassure people it doesn't mean the streets aren't safe.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, that is all time to sit here all day talking about this, but hopefully maybe when you've debriefed that you can come back and show how it's coming forward. But thank you both for coming in. Now it's time for Dog of the Week. Can you give this canine a home?
Dog number 061, Max, is a crossbreed. He's been with us for nearly 3 weeks now. Came to us due to his owner dying, so he's looking for a good home.
Joining me now for a daily look at what's been happening is Dan Kemp. Dan, what's the headlines for you today?
Good evening. The first story is a Hull mental health charity which has been targeted by thieves for the second time in 2 weeks.
Okay, what have they been taking?
Well, their premises have been broken into with a crowbar, they believe, and they've taken £1,000 worth of equipment, including power tools. And it's quite an important facility because it gives people with mental health issues the chance to kind of work in a workshop-based environment to get their hands on and overcome their problems. It was Recycling Unlimited, which is on Bontoft Avenue in Hull, West Hull, and it happened on Friday. And as I said, £1,000 worth of damage or takings by the thieves. And
that's a lot for a charity, isn't it, as well, to suffer?
Well, they've said that they were absolutely devastated, obviously, by the incident. The word they used in the Hull Daily Mail was shattered after the thieves targeted their premises. And as I said, it was the second time in 6 weeks. I think I said 2 weeks the first time. 6 weeks.
It's not good, is it?
No, not at all.
Not good at all for them. Okay. Next.
Yep, this is an inquiry into the possibility of planning 152 new homes in Laceby, in North East Lincolnshire.
This is the one that got refused by the council, isn't it?
Yes. And now they've got a public inquiry planned for January 2016.
Okay, and we've obviously just seen the Sidon Homes Scarthoe Development Public Inquiry, which obviously the inspector threw out and gave to Sidon Homes. What's going to happen here?
Well, the plans here are for full planning permission for 64 premises and outline permission for 88 other homes inland off Fieldhead Road in Laceby. So the planning permission would still be needed for the latter 88 at a later date. But this inquiry is to discuss the 152 altogether, and there are plans for 20% of those to be affordable housing as well under the government's
another
scheme.
planning inquiry then
Yes.
to add to the list. Next story.
This is a marriage counselling service which is due to shut in North East Lincolnshire. This is a story in the Grimsby Telegraph today. It's closing 8 branches across the county due to financial problems, which include sites in Mablethorpe and Market Raisin.
Heck, so that's Relate, the marriage counselling
Yes,
service
and they do also
closing.
have a phone line as well, which is kind of an important port of call for some people
So
as well.
what
They're
are
shutting
those
that as well.
people that use services like that, are they going to have to go elsewhere then?
Well, clearly that's the situation they're in. There's 33 members of staff that work there, and they're also being laid off, including 6 volunteers as well who run the charity shops. But these people are just, I suppose, the start of the people affected by it. But of course, there are so many more people that use the service.
That's quite a big thing to be closing so many branches. And you say the telephone line is closing as well?
Yeah. And they've apologised for any inconvenience for people who rely on the service with their relationships.
Oh, I think that's one to look into. Unfortunately, we've run out of time there, Dan, but thank you very much for that. And you can go and follow up on marriage guidance. Now it's time for the sports news.
Hull FC lost against the Giants 20-34 on September the 18th and will now play Newport Gwent Dragons on September 27th this Sunday afternoon. Hull Ionians will play against Rosslyn Park this Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. in the National League 1. Also this Saturday, Hull RUFC will play Ilkley in National League 3 North. Meanwhile, Scunthorpe RUFC will play home to Newport this weekend. Hull City have been drawn at home against Leicester City in the last 16 of the Capital One Cup. The Tigers overcame Premier League Swansea City on Tuesday and will now face the only unbeaten club in the Premier League for a place in the quarter-finals. Grimsby Town manager Paul Hurst says his side series of long away trips are not an excuse for their current run of draws. The Mariners have picked up 3 points in their last 3 games, including at Wrexham on Tuesday night.
I'd quite a bit of travelling recently, a lot of games anyway. Late back from Chester, it's quite a long journey. Same the other night, back late again, and another long journey coming up on Saturday. And again, I'm not going to make excuses. That's just the way that the fixtures have fallen, and the travelling probably doesn't help on top of what is a busy schedule.
That's all the sport for now, and we'll be back with more sport soon. Don't forget, if you've got a sports story for us, then email us on sport@estuary.tv. Give us a call on Grimsby 01472 31553 or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Bye for now.
That's it for tonight. Thank you to my guests. If you've a news story, then visit our Facebook or Twitter pages or email news@estuary.tv or pick up the phone. Until tomorrow, good night.
Estuary TV weather, sponsored by Grimsby Institute for a brighter future.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. On Friday we can expect a fine and mostly sunny start, but quite breezy with some patchy cloud in the afternoon, remaining dry with sunny spells, maximum temperature of 17 degrees Celsius. On Saturday we can expect fine and dry weather with settled conditions with sunny periods.
Estuary TV weather, sponsored by Grimsby Institute for a brighter future.